Tabletop World contacted me about reviewing one of their buildings. And I said I would love to. And I've seen their buildings online many, many times over the past, and I've been dying to see one in person. I actually just shot this whole video already, and I rambled through it all. So we're not going to actually do a true unboxing because I've already unboxed it. But I can describe to you how it was boxed. There was no packaging material. The building was packed simply in newsprint, which is kind of fun because now I could read, well, I could read, if I could read Croatian, I have a Croatian newspaper to look through. We'll see what I can glean culturally from this later. So I opened it up, paper wrapped the building, which I am eager to show you. It came in this form, packing tape, securing it together. And inside of the building are 3 additional pieces. A wheel, a cover for the stairs, and the top of the chimney. These are the only pieces that need to be assembled for the entire building, which is impressive, surprising to me. I was expecting potentially some more assembly being required. The building comes in 4 sections. So there is a, okay, there's a first floor, there's a second floor, right? And here are the sections laid out here, visually top down. Maybe we should break it down in terms of quality of the sculpt, building fit, overall aesthetics. That's how I'm going to tackle it. So the quality of the sculpt. The buildings are all detailed interior. They have windows interior. They have cracked plaster against the walls in spots. I really like, we're going to see more of that cracked plaster as we go along. I like the texture that they did for the plaster. It feels natural, and sometimes I feel like a lot of cracked plaster, it's like chunks are pucking off of it or something, and this has a more of an erosion to a mud wall or something effect. I like that a lot. The stonework, I'm just going to cover the stonework here now in just a couple words. It's freaking awesome. I love the texture of this stone. The stone has a granite type texture finish to scale, feels very realistic. The detail and the crispness of the edges are wonderful. In fact, I almost wonder if they're using real stones and breaking them up. That's how good it looks, but I can't believe they are, because it would be hard to get this texture at the right scale. But it looks that good. Looking along the back here of this piece, you can see some of the common elements I'm noticing are nails for all the wood. Very nice, tiny little detail. The wood texture is a little, it's the one thing, and I'm looking really hard to find a problem with these buildings. So this building. So the texture of the wood is very deep. The grain is very, very deep. So that's the one spot where I think realism to scale is not hitting the mark, except it's going to paint up really well. So there's some caveat there. You're going to get a really nice effect when you wash this. It's going to be a little stylized, but it's going to look really good. One thing that I really noticed, that I liked, I should say, was that the corners of these walls, the cornerstones are raised from the surface, and that is a really nice detail that could be easily missed, and it helps to really give this a sense of realism and a nice visual improvement to what otherwise would be, just kind of a flat. Even if you had different sized stones to indicate that there's a cornerstone set up here, having them raised, it adds a lot to it. So that's a really nice touch. So the door handle is delicate and well cast. I should say, they said that there wouldn't be any bubbles. I didn't expect to see any bubbles. I don't see any bubbles. It's as clean a cast as you can achieve. One thing to just mention, as somebody who's done mold making a lot in the past, some of these voids are very deep. They're very, very deep. And it's incredibly difficult to not have rubber trapped in that. I'm impressed with the level of voids. What happens usually is the rubber gets fragile over time, and you'll end up with pieces of rubber being torn out as you demold it, and you will end up with actually a little piece of rubber stuck in the spot when it starts to get really bad. And the voids that are in here are, I mean, I don't know. That pit right there is easy. I want to say almost 4 millimeters deep. It's crazy. It's just, it's kind of impressive just that they got this to cast so well. Another nice touch is they have these broad stones for the staircase, which is a nice touch. It breaks it up instead of trying to capture some of the side detail. It sets it apart, and the stones have, again, they have nice detail, slightly different. Maybe not. It still kind of looks granite-like to me. Interestingly, I just noticed that this door passes through to this door. That's not a wildly radical observation, but it was something I didn't notice before. I thought this maybe went into a basement or something. Okay, so anyway, that's the first story. Oh, and I did also want to say the pumpkin and the little vase here, nice. They're just good God. See, you got to look. There's even this, a little texture around the stump of the pumpkin. That's wonderful in there. Second story, couple new elements though. This is a more formal arched doorway, and it has a slightly more embellished iron work strapping. One thing I like that I was noticing is that the plaster has been. I hope people don't mind me trying to deconstruct how it was made. It's just the way my brain works. But it was sculpted and layered over the stones, and in some sense, part of me says that might not be the most realistic, but I love the look it gives because you really get the sense, you get that separation between the plaster and the stones. You don't feel like somebody just chiseled it out, right? That there is actually a layer above it that has been removed or by weather or natural disasters or incoming robbers or something. Let's see here. Keep moving around. Just a quick look at the windows. The detail on the windows is really nice. This lattice work pattern that they have in here, it's done really well. It's if you look really closely, and nobody ever will do this, this is just the way I do it, you can see that they have overlaid straps, but almost all of the spots are blended so that you can't really see that. There's like a couple spots where I'm like, how did they do that? Oh, they did lay down strips and then they smoothed them. Third story, one thing that surprised me when I first looked at these is that the stonework underneath continues up to the third story. I wouldn't have expected it to continue that high, just thinking architecturally, but it works. I like it. And here is the front of the entryway. And again, just the level of detail. Every surface has it. Under here, it's just wonderfully well sculpted wood. And again, these grains right here. Oh, these grains right here. These are so deep. I just can't. God, I'd love to know what rubber they're using. And I didn't show you the bottoms before, but the bottoms of the buildings are finished with wood planking. And the showiest piece for the levels is the roof. Let's talk about the roof in a second. Just to give you a little look at the sort of I wonder what this is called. One thing, just to talk about how the styling is. So you have the wood rafters, and then you have the shingles laid over it, and it's really nice because the shingles are actually quite thin, and that works really well. I think a lot of times shingles are kind of out of necessity modeled a little thicker than they actually would be. Roof line curves a little bit, and so the shingles are laid against it, and normally I would maybe be like, can the shingles really bend like that? Are they going to fall flat against it? But it works aesthetically. Curve at the bottom of the roof, for instance, that just has a nice flow to it. And then there's some exposed rafters underneath it as well. In the interior, there's only so many ways you can say it's detailed. Give you a quick peek of what that looks like, though. Worth a quick look. The casting on it is not only really well for those details, but the buildings themselves, the pieces, I should say, fit incredibly snugly. When I go to put this piece on, where's going to be my best angle here to show you? All right, there is no play. It's like when you get it into the right spot. Not that it's hard, but I'm trying to do it on camera. Why am I not? What am I doing? Oh, I see. Once you get it into the right spot, hear that? There's a tiny hair of play in it, and I mean that's a small amount of play. Really nice, tight fit. I'm impressed with that. The tight fit just shows a really dedication to detail from not only from the sculpting, but from its fit and finish. And the third floor is much the same, and it has teeth in the front and the back that slide in. Feel that? Hear that? There's no play really in the third floor. It's hard to say there is any in the second floor. It's so tight. And the joins, when you look at them, are, negligible. You're hard pressed. There is a line if you're looking. Now, I'm actually looking below grade, right? So I'd have to be underground and wait a minute. I'd have to be underground and looking up at the building to be able to see that. So there is no way to see that as a casual viewer. But very, very small gap there, and other places none. The bottom join here is just it's impeccable. So, and then the roof is the only piece that doesn't have that kind of a snap fit. It sits front to back because of the rafters, but there's no catch on the back, which it disappoints me only because it's so freaking awesome. It made me think everything's just going to be snapped together. However, I understand why it doesn't do that, I believe, and it is because the third story is flush with the second story. Anyway, that's why it slides. Then the pieces you might not think would fit as tightly would be the overhang here, which is a free cast piece. There is a groove here in the side of the building that accepts it. It accepts it very tightly. Again, that is a really nice fit. The wood feet of the overhang meet the wall perfectly. Oh my gosh. See, this is why I had to shoot it twice. You're going to laugh when I say this. I found a piece of flash. One piece of flash. That's it. That's the only piece I've seen on the entire building. Great. Just wants to go in there. It's like you don't even have to encourage it. The chimney is the second part that isn't glued in, and there is a little dove cut on the back side here to allow it to sit flush with the roof. And the chimney is great. I think here's one last spot where I'll say maybe I could nitpick. I feel like the could be more mortar between the stones in the chimney, because the voids in between these stones are quite large, and I don't think that's going to be a problem aesthetically. I mean, the trick is, though, is I would be very reluctant to try to put mortar into those gaps, because you will obscure the beautiful detail of the chimney. So it's just one thing where I was like, maybe a little mortar. You know, I didn't comment before, but these are nice little chimney tops. Little variety, not quite the standard fare. So, having looked at all of that, what do I think about the aesthetics of the piece? I think it's wonderful. I think it fits a fantasy theme. I think it's a little too fantasy to be historical. I think having the stone go up so high kind of relegates it to a fantasy setting, but it's flexible enough that it could play in a lot of different fantasy environments quite comfortably, I believe. What do I think about this building? I think it's fantastic. I think it is eye candy. I think it is something that a modeler who doesn't have a lot of a painting experience can get a great look from it. For, you know, some basic colors, washes, some highlights. The texture would pick up dry brushing if that's the way you'd like to highlight it. That I would very softly dry brush it. You want to just get these edges because there's so many little tiny edges. Beautiful. But if you're a skilled modeler and you really want to sort of tweak out painting a building, this is going to definitely work for you. I think its character is nice, the style, and the fit, the whole package, the detail, the sculpts, the quality of the cast, the aesthetics. I think it all comes together in a really, really nice package. And I'm really grateful that Tabletop World sent me one to review. I've always wanted to look at their buildings. I think I've probably said that already. And I have not been disappointed.